There is a picture that has been posted that has gotten a little bit of controversy involving JK and Jimin. We have some homophobic backlash that has been centered around Jimin and some of the other members, and then we have some plastic surgery claims that have been going around. Say Dumplings is Dave Desai. Let's get into it. There are claims circling around the internet that have been talking about Jimin getting plastic surgery. Now, the claims of the BTS members getting plastic surgery are stuff that has followed them since debut. And since a lot of K-pop idols, when they debut, they're extremely young, their features grow and change. Sometimes just grow into their features, which makes their features look smaller or just different, as well as just puberty can sometimes change the shape of things. Skin texture, you know what I mean. We all probably look very different from when we were much younger. But this is also an industry that carries a lot of plastic surgery claims. And for sometimes good reasons, because a lot of K-pop idols get plastic surgery and a lot of K-pop labels force the idols to get plastic surgery. Now, some people are taking photos from when Jimin debuted to when he got older and noticing things like nose shape as well as his chin changing shape. Some people have said that this is a result of plastic surgery, and then others have mocked the fact that if he were to get plastic surgery, why would he still look like how he looks, essentially calling him not attractive even after surgery. And of course, these are all really rude comments and rooted from people who just really dislike him for no reason. Now, from some of these photos that I have seen, the things that get brought up, that he looks different, and people are comparing his old pictures to new pictures. Or sometimes when the old pictures show Jimin doing something with his face, like smiling or moving his face in a certain way that makes his features look different, and then they're comparing that to a still photo of Jimin now doing nothing and his face is resting, and they're saying, look, it looks so different. And what I would like to say to the people who are doing this is that I genuinely don't think that they're stupid, like that they don't know the difference, because they do. They're doing this because they know it's going to cause an uproar online, and they're not using a picture of Jimin full on smiling or making a huge movement, but they're using a screenshot from a video that's at the tail end of Jimin making a facial expression, and his face is still not fully relaxed yet. And why are they doing that? They know what they're doing. They know that they're going to find moments like this, because if you scroll back 10 seconds or even 3 seconds from where this photo was screenshotted from, you'll see Jimin's face move. This is a form of gaslighting, by the way. Like, if the celebrity were to sit there and look into it and believe the rumors, this is a genuine form of psychological manipulation and gaslighting. These people who do this are criminals, in my opinion. This is not something that a normal person does, or a civil one does. I typically love to come on here and call stupid, but I don't believe this is stupidity, right? This is people really wanting to go viral, really wanting attention, and being really mean. I genuinely feel like people like this should not exist in the world. I think these are some of the worst people that exist in society, genuinely. Just because they want to go viral, they want attention, they're trying to bring down or hurt another celebrity, and they might think, oh, the celebrity can take it, or the celebrity will not find out about this, but they're not just doing this to celebrities, right? They're doing this to people whose livelihoods depend on people believing that they don't have plastic surgery, let's say, which is exactly what happens in K-pop. This is done to idols before they debut. Of course, the boys have heard this many times before, I'm sure, and they know that people are saying stuff like this about them, so I'm sure they're used to it. They might not like it, they might not enjoy what they hear, but I hope that they're used to it and it doesn't hurt them. This next post went viral on X, and I thought this was so funny. Someone made an account that was a Jimin fan, and they made sure to add a disclaimer on the top of the bio that they were a solo Jimin fan and that they were homophobic. This kind of came out of nowhere. It was like, love Jimin, solo and homophobic. And people were like, they added a fun fact about themselves at the end. Because if you just read that, then you think that they're just saying that they're single and homophobic, which is hilarious. Obviously, I don't agree with the homophobic remarks. If you follow me, you would know that I'm part of that community, and obviously I don't agree with being homophobic, but I kind of see why they decided to make a post like this or add this at the end. It's almost necessary for them because they would get a lot of hate from the shipping community if they didn't. There's a lot of people who think that if you're a Jimin fan, you're someone who wants to ship Jimin and JK together, and you would get a lot of hate anytime you go against JK, which some people say, oh, you're a Jimin supporter. You would of course love JK, or that you're pretending to be a Jimin supporter because you hate JK. So they always jump to those two being together. And then on the other side of that, you'll have people who want V and JK to be together, who are now sending death threats and attacking any Jimin fans because they think that the account is a Jungkook shipper. So with this disclaimer, if you will, it almost puts them out of it completely, because it essentially says, hey, I want nothing to do with your ship because I don't like that. And then it also adds that they're solo supporters and they don't want to be involved in the ships at all. I say this to say that that's sort of where some of the people in the community are headed towards. It's really sad because obviously we don't want to push this narrative that being gay is bad and that people should say that that's okay. If this person actually is homophobic, or they're just saying this to avoid the general hate that they would be getting otherwise, it is sad to see that they have to go to this level to avoid getting hate. And I don't know if they're doing that, by the way, you know, for the sake of that, but I am saying that that's a way to get people to stop sending hate, and these are the consequences of having a ship that's not really strong and supportive, which typically is a good thing, but also so angry all the time because they feel like people are coming after their ship, or they feel like their ship is in jeopardy all the time. When in reality, if it's something you believe, it doesn't really matter what other people say. For example, if you were to talk to a devout Christian and try to convince him that God isn't real, it's not really going to work. It really doesn't matter what you say. That's their belief. That's their faith. Like, if these shippers really believe what they believe, then it shouldn't matter what anyone says, or it shouldn't matter if someone disagrees with them. They should be able to still be friends with that person or have a conversation with someone who disagrees with their ship. And that's the issue that I have sometimes with some people within the shipping community, is that it's hard to have a conversation with them because they're so angry and they don't want to listen to anything else. And what that does is that it makes people who don't believe in the ship more likely to not believe in the ship, because they're kind of like looking back and going, well, these are the people who believe in the ship and I don't want to be associated with them at all. And it's not right. And it's obviously not everybody. I think we know this, but there's obviously a lot of really loud people who are like that, and that's the problem. Now, there is this conversation about a white phone that was thrown into the mix here. This conversation started as it was believed JK mentioned that he had a lot of Jimin pictures on his phone. It was then rumored that back when Jin flipped JK on the couch, it was heard that Jimin lost his phone or his phone fell out, with people assuming that that likely meant that the phone fell out of someone's pocket or JK's pocket. And then it was questioned why JK would have Jimin's phone. It was then rumored that this was a group phone and all of the members had access to this phone, because then we saw JHope take a photo of the group with this phone. Some people believe that if the phone belongs to Jimin and JK, and he's the one holding on to it, then they're intimate together because they're sharing a phone, and that the photo that JHope took was one that essentially confirmed all of this. But I want to throw a different thought into the mix here, one that has not been discussed at all that I saw. The BTS members are ambassadors of Samsung. This is a white iPhone. They're not allowed to have an iPhone. I would imagine that if they wanted to have an iPhone, it would be one iPhone that was shared amongst all of them, or at least made appear to be one iPhone shared amongst all of them, because they're not supposed to be endorsing Apple products or taking photos with Apple devices. Now, I don't know if that's specifically written in their contract, because as you can obviously see here, you know, it's not a big deal apparently, but I would imagine they cannot be seen constantly using iPhones. And one way to restrict that while still allowing them to have some freedom in using the phone that they want to use is just having them have one, and all of their main phones are Samsung phones. So I do believe this is sort of a community phone, if you will, and there are a lot of photos on it. Now, some people have mentioned that JK has called that specific white phone his phone in interviews, but I just believe that it's easier than explaining this whole situation. And of course, he would probably rather just say, hey, this is my phone, than say we all share one phone because our contract says that, which would then of course break the fourth wall we have with them and make it seem like they're more businessy than human. So it definitely makes them seem less relatable if they were to say that. Now, those are my thoughts. Of course, I don't know the truth. I don't know what actually is going on behind the scenes, right? But in my opinion, it is a community phone, and they're all sharing this amongst each other, and that's totally not a big deal. There would definitely be a lot of photos of all the members in that phone, probably. And potentially the phone is owned by the staff member who goes in and posts any of the good pictures, right? That's a theory for another time. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to check out Patreon. I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Thank you so much for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.